My name is Susan Henry. I'm the Director of Philanthropy here at Nevada Public Radio. I want to thank all of you for coming, the new faces, some of the faces I've met already, and old friends that we've got here at the station. Not old, but I mean like...
Yeah, what are you talking about? Wait.
Yeah. We're thrilled to have you all here because this is going to be an amazing conversation. I've known Andrea now, gosh, for at least 3 years, I feel. And this is our second event with her in a year's time. We had her last year to do the Let Them conversation, and now we're doing another very important conversation about women's health. So before we start, I have just a couple of announcements that I want to make. Besides, welcome to Nevada Public Radio. We're your local NPR station for maybe, I know everyone's here because you've listened to us. We also have KCNB, the classical station at 89.7, as well as Desert Companion Magazine. Some of you guys saw the issues of it. We just published our photo showcase issue, which is our big art issue with stunning photography in it. This was the winner here, the selection right here.
Yeah.
The showgirl at the Fuse Box. Sounds pretty Vegas right there. So that is what we do here. We've been doing that here in Las Vegas for now 45 years. 45 years since we went on the air in 1980. Wow. Yeah.
Great.
So we've been around for a minute, and we are a living archive of the stories, of the events, of the people here in Southern Nevada, and we thank all of you for your support. And if any of you are interested in becoming a member, we'll be having extra events. We're really focusing on building on our membership because it's just, we enjoy being here and we enjoy serving the community. Just so you guys know, in addition to Community at Studio One started off as a concept to fulfill the wishes of Lamar Marchese, who is the organization's founder. He wanted this room here, which we used to use for pledge drives, to be used more as a community meeting center, which is what we're definitely doing. So we're glad that you guys are all here. Stuff that we've got coming up for you after our wonderful talk today. We have one final Community at Studio One left in the season right now for the late winter spring season, and that is on May 28th. Opera Las Vegas will be here for a performance of Pagliacci. So anyone who is an opera fan, that will be a daytime event on May 28th, which is a Thursday. We'll be going from 11:30 a.m. until 1, I believe, on that one. But we'll have information on it because we have a new events page at knpr.org. We also have online auction beginning June 11th. So those of you guys who are fans of it, please check it out.
I get all my Rod Stewart tickets there.
I've got to I still have to try to find a way to meet him because, well, there's a story behind that. And then I also want for everybody just to keep your ears open because we will be having a pledge drive upcoming for KCNB. I just want to give a big shout out though before I introduce our panel to Bronze Cafe. We've got David Moses out here. He's working here. Kept us fed and healthy and happy for the last, for years now. So thank you so much. They are a treasure to Las Vegas. I also want to give a huge shout out to Crystal Jepson. She is my partner in crime. Without her, these events just would not happen because I would be in a sobbing ball in that corner, stressed out, and she unravels all that for me. So on to our panel here, I want to welcome the wonderful Dr. Andrea Gigline. Thank you so much for coming. And yay! Applause for her. Andrea, she's also known as Dr. Success. She's an organizational psychologist, entrepreneur, an author who specializes in applied positive psychology. What you all don't know, too, is that she is sort of our semi-spiritual leader here at the organization. She is somebody who really reframes a lot of things for you to help you really see what the value is in a situation as opposed to maybe what you might be dwelling on. It's not.
That's what Susan thinks I do for the organization.
You do. And we're very, very happy and honored to be joined by, I should use my glasses here, Dr. Eboni January, who's a board-certified OBGYN. We're looking forward to hearing from you, Dr. January, so thank you for joining us. We also want to welcome back Lori Wilkinson. She was also a friend of our station. Lori and I met at least a couple of years ago at one of Andrea's dinners. She's from Northern Nevada, right? Mm-hmm. The stories she has about the land up there is amazing. Her brother has a home up there. And Lori is also, she is a Southern Nevada girl. She's involved with the chamber, she's involved with the community, and she has a lot of wisdom to impart with everybody here. And I'd also like to welcome Rose Peterson, the founder of Fit and Confident Academy, a strength and weight loss coach that you are for women over 35. I need that too, strength. So, Lori and Rose, I want to thank you also for coming and welcome you guys here. Welcome you ladies here.
Thank
All right.
you.
And with that, I will turn the discussion over to you, Andrea. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I want to thank all of you who are in the studio with us, and I really want you to imagine what it was like for me it's about 18 months ago now. One of the many things that I do is I have a microphone that she's going to move.
I kill the music.
Okay. I have something known as a table of 8. It's a women's gathering of professional women, and at the time it was formed because our friends at Desert Companion, part of Nevada Public Radio, had restaurant awards. And a friend and I got together and we put together a list of 25 people we knew, and every month I would send it out, and we went to a no-host dinner at one of the restaurants that had won an award. Well, as you could well imagine, conversations take place over these dinner tables. And I'd like you to imagine one particular dinner a year and a half ago, and there is a piece of information you should know. There was myself and one other woman who I would say are the sages in the group. That means we're 70 and above. Everybody else is not. And all of a sudden there was this conversation going on about hormones and my body's doing this and my attitude's doing that, and it turned into one of the coolest conversations because mean people like me were laughing my butt off because it was such history what they were talking about to me. But it was really an intriguing moment because what came out of that conversation was that people were dying to have conversations, that there is a point in life, women's health from 30, 40, 50, 60 shifts so much, and we don't talk about it. We get kind of stuck. And to make the point, and it was just by happen chance. So I was born in 55. At one point before I got my first period, what's the clinical term for that?
Menarche.
Yeah, whatever that is. Well, I know it wasn't my friend. My mother gave me these little books.
That's so cute.
Okay, I got these little books. I'm not sure she ever talked to me about them. I'm not sure I did anything. I know that one of them has this little rotary dial in it. And you were supposed to, like, I don't know, it was like spin the dial or something like that. And then you would know.
I think it's amazing you still have these.
I know.
Yeah, it was the reason. I have one box of my life from 0 to 20. And this was in it, mostly because someone clearly gave this to my mother, whose name was Chris. So these books were being passed around. I wasn't the first recipient of it. But I'll take you back to that dinner. And I realized that there was a really deep need, and we all started talking about resources. The other sage member of our group, though, the following month gave everyone who showed up at dinner their own personal fan. So just so you get the feeling. But I want to tell you that what I want you to do is imagine, like, you're all in this room for a reason. And before we get into these conversations, because each one of us is here for a different reason, the conversation that night changed my life, and I changed my exercise program of 40 years, 35 years. I had a certain exercise program. And when I first did the research, I realized that I was wrong for this point in my life and had been wrong from about 50 on what I was doing. And that, when I realized that at the tail end of it, there is still much to be known, So I want to ask before we start, anyone willing to say why you're here tonight other than that you like one of us?
Perimenopausal.
Okay. And so what, you don't need to tell us your age, but your decade, 30, 40, 50,
I'm in my mid-40s.
mid-40s, thank you.
I'm tired of the hot flashes.
Okay,
This is a new thing.
okay,
I turned 50 this year,
okay.
and I'm just like, I can't sleep because the covers are on and the covers are off and the covers are on. And I want to know about hormones and hormone replacements.
Okay.
There's, the science is everywhere, and I just feel like half the research says yes and the other half says no, and I don't know what to do.
Oh, okay, and I'm going to make a, although I'm not, I don't know what the correct term, authorized to do this, know that we, even the doctor, cannot give medical advice. We're going to be sharing the things. I will tell you that one of the other things I did, so I was 50 in around 2004. And I was taking notes about this next period of life, and I had in my notebook that the drug do not go on hormones because that's when the study came out. So that all over the place. So who else? Yes.
So I am a hormone specialist, but the reason why I became a hormone specialist is because I was pushed into medical menopause when I was battling breast cancer. So ever since then, because it's not a standardized curriculum, everything that I know about hormones, I kind of had to learn myself and do these courses. So I know that whenever I go to any education about hormones, there's always something more to learn.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I just was wondering if it's too late for me. Like I'm 50, almost 56. So I'm like,
I didn't go on bioidentical until I was 60.
Okay.
Because I was that convinced hormones were bad. Yeah. That's just, and know that these are going to be stories. The real doctor, I play one on TV, the real doctor will have a different way of speaking about these things, but I need you to really appreciate the reason we're having this conversation tonight is because the solutions are almost as individualized as the symptoms. That's how crazy it is. That's how crazy a period. So I've taken up enough time. We'll get to more questions, but I wanted to get a feel of why. So Lori, why don't you, since we went to hormones so quickly, why don't you tell us about the role you played that night at that dinner back in January?
Yeah, so for me, I remember when this became such an issue for me. It was when I was starting to have hot flashes. I was starting not to sleep. I was starting to not remember people's names that I clearly knew. And I was literally going out of my mind. And I went to my OBGYN. And I remember very clearly that my OBGYN said, "It's okay, honey, I'll give you a little estrogen." And I was like, oh my God, this is a big problem. Because it was very clear that this was not something that she spent a lot of time on, right? That me, at the point in my life, that I needed to start to seek, and that really should be a center for everything that you're thinking about, is to keep seeking resources to help you make the best decision for yourself. But I very quickly realized I needed to get away from an OBGYN and go to a GYN, because in her practice, she was focusing on delivering children. And so she wasn't spending a lot of time thinking through or learning or pushing herself to pick up new resources. So then I just started reaching, and I reached and I reached and I reached. And I realized also the other problem was that, because part of what I do today, I'm an employee benefit specialist. So I work with large corporations to help them build their employee benefit plans. And so one of the things that I also fight tirelessly for every single day, or there are no resources even within these really large health plans to help women who are going through these very significant changes in their lives. And I was also meeting other women, and as I started to search myself, and I started to talk to women, I realized that I was very open and transparent, but I could tell on the looks of the women that I was sitting with that they were just shrunken, and they literally were like, I don't feel like I can talk to anybody about it because it's a very personal thing. And I would literally, after I would have this very transparent conversation, they would all pull me aside and say, can you please spend some time with me? Can you please help me? I'm experiencing X, Y, and Z. So that's why I'm so personally passionate about it, is because I want to encourage women to reach, be passionate, because there is no reason at this point in our lives that we shouldn't live healthy, productive, happy, open, lives with each other, with our spouses, with our friends, and to be able to have those conversations. And so that's why this conversation was so fabulous, I thought, because I was continuing to send that message out, and I had people that were open to receiving it and being in that game with me so that we could continue to spread this message. And I do it every day, and I don't care if people are uncomfortable. Because you got to get out. Somebody told me one time, if you stay in your sandbox, that's where you will remain. Where you will find the best outcome for yourself is by reaching and just sticking your toe, just even if it's just a minute, outside your sandbox, because that's where we learn and grow. So for me, that's why I'm personally so passionate about it.
And so I want, before we have Dr. January really tell us the do's, the don'ts, the history, I would like to share with you how Rose Peterson came into my life. It was because of that dinner and the research that I did. So I was a person who went to Pilates 2 times a week, and I walked 30 miles. I'm a very aggressive walker. In fact, people would do their best not to walk with me. And I was unbending about how aggressive I was. And then I started doing all this research to try and first to find resources in town, which I will tell you was very hard. There wasn't a lot. The last 6 months has gotten better than the first 6 months that I was looking just in Las Vegas alone. And it is because so much information is needed and is rapidly changing. But it was the focus on exercise for me that I shifted. So, I said that I came late to bioidenticals, and it's something that I'm very glad that I did. Shifting exercise in each decade according to how your physiology is changing is Rose's reason for being in my world.
So, I'm the big proponent of lifting heavy weights. And as we're going to get in this conversation and we learn from you, doctor, is that, after age 30, our estrogen just declines. And also women lose muscle and bone loss. And the best time to build muscle is actually in our teens and 20s. But the second best time is right now. I became passionate about strength training from my own transformation, but my story started, after I had babies. I have 3 kids. But I also started attracting women that are between like 40 and 70 that are training with me, and I noticed that the reason they wanted to come to me is they were feeling weaker and they didn't like it. And they wanted to find an answer to not just look good, because maybe in their 20s they wanted to look thin and they want to look good, but they want to be able to do the activities of their daily living for as long as they retire and they're getting older. So I started training women who, they're retiring, but they want to go on adventures and they want to hike the Grand Canyon. They want to help babysit their grandkids. But they were noticing that their bodies just weren't feeling, they were feeling fragile. And then when they were going to their doctors just acted like this was a part of aging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Everything's a part of
yes,
it.
yes. But the good news is that even as we age, we can still gain muscle. And that's the thing that's going to help us get our energy back, helps us bring back some testosterone, which I'm sure you're going to talk about too. And it's the thing that's going to fight against that estrogen loss. Because as we lose estrogen protects our muscle and our bone. And so as we lose estrogen, you can do external things like HRT, but you can also do physical things to combat or reverse that osteoporosis and that muscle loss. So we'll get more into it later, but I think there are some misconceptions with people who have lifted weights that they're afraid of getting hurt or that they're going to get bulky. And that just is, if you're just a person that's working out 2 or 3 times a week in the gym, you're not going to get bulky. The people that we see that are getting bulky, they're career bodybuilders who are using drugs and they're in the gym, 10 hours a week or more. So anyway, if there's any fears around that, hopefully I can answer your guys' question and kind of contribute to this conversation of, you have a lot more control than you think, and that's what we're here to help you with, is to give you those resources so that you can feel more in control of the things that are happening, because there are things that you can do to feel better.
Agree.
Take it away.
Well, as he stated before, I'm Dr. Eboni January. I am a board certified OBGYN, and I love what everyone has said. There's so many comments that I wanted to make, but specifically what Lori said, which is, and Andrea said it as well, is that one, menopause is not one of those things where it's really cookie cutter. It affects everyone differently. And if your doctor goes to just put you on hormones, you might want to switch doctors. Okay. And also come prepared. Sometimes it's not just as simple as a switch. Sometimes it's a matter of being a teammate. And that's why I'm here. So one of the things that I did was I went to work for a low-income facility back in 2014, fresh out of residency. And one of the things that I saw universally is that women were uneducated about their bodies, right? You were coming to the doctor and maybe on a medication for 10 years, and you didn't even remember the name of it, right? So that let me know that it was almost like a dictatorship. You felt like you had no say. And I'm saying you because it's universal. I'm licensed in 16 states. In 2022, I was recruited to Houston to build a wellness facility where we focus exclusively on hormones. So as Lori said, the doctor has to be educated and has to continue to be educated. We call that CME, which is continued medical education. So I had to learn a lot about hormones, right? And so I got to know what my patients were experiencing, what they weren't experiencing, the fact that I couldn't be cookie cutter. I couldn't just throw estrogen at someone and think that it was okay, right? And in fact, I was just on a podcast interview before I got here, and we talked about the hormone replacement, the shortage, right? Because many people can't get the patch. And I said, well, there's this big, to do about the fact that the patch is not readily available, but that's not your only option, right?
Right.
That's not the only thing that you need in order to be well in this transitional period of your time. And it's very key for the younger people in the room, or to take this back to younger people, to know to prepare yourself through exercise, diet, a Mediterranean diet, which is anti-inflammatory diet. So I want you to know that this is not a one size, a cookie cutter, one size fits all. This is something that has to be tailored to who you are as an individual. And I've never been the type of doctor that just treated every single patient the same way. And so what I'm going to break down for you is not just about treatment. I really want to really speak to the transitional period. Is we're going to talk about exercise, we're going to talk about diet, and we're going to talk about what truly is happening during this period, so that you can take this information in and take it back to people who are not in this room. And so to tailor your approach. And also, I know that we only just have maybe an hour or so, but I have some resources at the end of the slide so that I want you to take pictures of, so that you can be able to access me and to get more information moving forward, okay?
So before we go any further, so you have someone who comes into a doctor's office. You have Lori. What is the right response for a doctor when someone first comes in who is unsure, like, I'm beginning to notice this? What would be a reasonable response?
So one of the things is we have to get information, and we need that information from you. I need you all to track your symptoms. What's truly happening? At 5 o'clock, this is happening. At 6 o'clock, this is happening. Or I notice that I can't quite recall my dog's name sometimes. Or, I need for you all to really do your homework as well, so that when you come into our office and we ask you questions, that you have information to give to us. We call that data, right? And so if you are having these type of symptoms, we want you to track them. You need to write them down, because what I'm going to ask you, as Andrea stated, what am I going to ask you when you come into the office? I'm going to ask you, well, when is this happening? How often is it happening? And I'm going to ask you your history. I'm going to ask you, do you have a history of blood clots? Or do you have a history of liver disease? I'm going to ask you all of the things that will help me to dictate your care. So it's not just a matter of, oh, you're having this, boom, this is the solution. No, I need to dig deeper. I'm going to dig deeper when you come into my office. And I'm sure Dr. Lightning is the same way. She's very thorough, and she's the reason I invited her, because I knew that she was a specialist in this particular field. As Lori stated, she's like, oh, don't go to an OB-GYN. Well, certain OB-GYNs are really good with hormones as well. Maybe not all, depending on what their practice demographics looks like, but you need someone who truly, truly knows what they're doing. And it's not a one size fits all. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to dig deeper to truly, truly understand what you specifically are going through.
And I want to really reinforce that so much of what we're saying is about you being clearer about where you are, what you're noticing in your body. Because I will tell you, the very first time I ever heard the word menopause was when I was in my late 20s. And one of my girlfriends was trying to have another baby, and she was like 24 years old, 25 years old. And the doctor, her GYN OB, said to her just very nonchalantly, because they were doing all these blood tests, if you were 40 years old, I would say you were going into menopause.
Oh.
And then did nothing about it. Like, made the comment. So this GYN was looking at data that indicated something, but because of the person's age, and her hormones did wreak havoc for her through most of her life. But I remember that was the first time, and then when she started having additional problems in her 30s, I was like, this person saw something, and it didn't make sense, but they didn't do anything about it because she was there to get pregnant. There was the disconnect. So
yeah. And that's very important. If someone sees something, if a doctor or a clinician sees something in your lab results or what have you, and there's no follow-up, there's no plan, then that's a problem. This is the time to switch. This is the time to get a second opinion or a third opinion, because that's not okay. And oftentimes, and it may, in this particular situation, is the hormones, but what happens when it's something like a cardiovascular disease, but because they have deemed you too young to have something, then they've totally written off something that was very critical for you. And so that has even happened to me. So my dad, the panel knows I have a sick dad that I take care of. He's had multiple strokes. His mom had multiple strokes. So if I go in and I'm saying, hey, I have chest pain and I'm worried, can you do, a workup for me? And I say, hey, I'm worried about this because of X, Y, and Z. And they're like, you're too young. Well, no, I have a family history of these things. So something that happens to me may happen younger than most people because I have a family history. But when someone writes you off because of your age or your sex, and I see this often in the ER, ladies, is that ER doctors will just totally write you off to something that is your uterus or your vagina when it could be a kidney stone. It could be something else.
you mean they're not all the pit?
No, they are not.
Just check.
They are not all the pit. They are not all house.
Yeah.
So many times they just completely, write you off because you are a woman and you have lady parts. And so they may say it's your lady parts. And many times, I can't tell you how many times I've diagnosed kidney stones in the ER when the ER doctor thought that maybe it was a a cyst on the ovary. A cyst has been there for forever. It's gonna go away. It's one of what we call a follicular cyst, but they will say that it's that, but really it's a kidney stone. So I've diagnosed those endless times just because people have put you into a category because of your age, your sex, so many different things. And so it's important to, as Lori said, push back and keep searching, right? That's so important. You look like you had a question.
I did. Kind of on the other end of things, I just want you all to keep this in mind, people that have MD, et cetera, after your name. If someone comes to you, if you can help yourself, please do not lead the conversation with, well, for someone your age. Because I can tell you that for me, when I hear that, I'm not just someone my age. I am someone. I'm an individual.
Yep.
And usually what follows after that statement is something along the lines of, if you were 20 years younger, we would do this, or if you were such and such, we would do this. And it's sort of like, well, you've got maybe 15 years to go. Why bother? And so it really that's how it feels. And people live longer now. They live longer, and they want to be vital. They want to have a life where they make a contribution, and
Absolutely.
they can. So just please keep that in mind.
I'll make sure I take that back to my colleagues, and I can assure you I've never said that. But absolutely. Yeah. I received that.
Yep.
Any questions before we get into the presentation? And it's very, very quick, by the way.
Okay.
What if you don't know your family history? And so I come from a immigrant Mexican family, and I couldn't ask my mom when she went into menopause or
Yeah.
she experienced perimenopause. She'd probably look at me like I'm crazy, right?
Yeah.
Those are things we don't talk about.
Yeah.
And so as someone who has not been in that transition yet, but I'm around a lot of women who tell me that this is what to expect, and so here I am. How do I navigate not knowing my family history?
And most people don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I treat everyone individually, and I automatically assume that people may have a history of X, Y, and Z, and I just do a deep dive. I'm going to be honest. My mom passed away, so I can't ask her certain questions. Or, now that I know and am mature enough to know that I need to know my family history about certain things. So most people don't know their family history. So you want to go to a doctor who's very thorough and take inventory, as I stated before. What are your symptoms? When are they happening? Journal. I usually, and it's funny because Lori stated that the doctor right away was like, okay, hormones. But I'm one of those doctors who I dig deeper, and I'm not one of those people that will just throw something at you. So oftentimes, however, in the reverse is that I have patients who will say, okay, I have this symptom, I want this particular medication. That happens all the time. And I will have to back them up to say, wait. This happened one isolated time. I want to follow up with you, but when you go home, I want you to track your symptoms. I need you to log your symptoms so that I have more information, more data to go off on. So in your particular case, and in most people's case, it's the same thing. I need more information. Most people, it's like any research study. Research studies are full of data. And so when we talk about the shortage, there was a big lift of that black box warning on hormone replacement therapy, and now pharmaceutical companies are struggling to catch up. And that's where we are when we can't go and get the patch and things of that nature, because it was essentially practicing old medicine. We were practicing old medicine on a demographic that is not the general population. These were women, average age of 63, and so there were black box warnings for hormone replacement therapy for these women, but it didn't take into consideration those perimenopausal individuals, the individuals under the age of 60, where that's when we see the best benefit in hormone replacement therapy is in younger individuals. So that's why it's so important. The data is so important for research, and you doing your own individual research on your own your symptoms.
I would just also, things that I started because I was a reacher and I was just determined. I was not going to let this, because I see women every day that just look like they're defeated because they're being diagnosed as being clinically depressed. That's ridiculous. Yeah, they're depressed because they can't figure out all these things. And, even down to something like I was starting to experience terrible dry eyes, terrible. And I have a fabulous vision provider, and he was like, he looked at my age and we were talking about the things I was experiencing. He said, well, this is definitely tied to the reduction in estrogen in your system. So then I started, right? So then I wasn't like, I'm crazy, something like, and because there are so many things, that's the other thing I think that people don't understand, that as women, we experience all these things. We experience vaginal dryness, we experience a change in our libido, we experience dry eyes, we experience weight gain, we experience weight gain in places we never thought it would ever go to, you know? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And so, then it just compounds. And then you feel like, to your point, like, I don't know where to go. Where do I go? So that's why I say you just have to reach, and you have to have really good allies that sort of have specialize in sort of different areas. And to Andrea's point, like, I'm 62, but, you know, I am now changing my exercise regimen too, because it's a known fact that as an older woman to do a lot of cardio, not good, because it's driving cortisol. Cortisol directly impacts the sugar your body stores because it's in fight or flight mode. So you don't really think about it. You just think, oh, I'm going to get on a treadmill and I'm going to work out really hard and it's going to help. Not necessarily the case. May have been the case when you were 20, not when you're 62. So, you know, because we can have these conversations, and if you just keep educating yourself, you're going to have these little aha moments. But surround yourself, to your point, like, you're not going through it yet, but to surround yourself with people who are going through it and who are comfortable having those really open conversations, so that you can be really well prepared as you go through that process to have a different experience.
Absolutely. I feel like Lori could have given the presentation.
Well, that's why we're here. It was Lori that's why we're actually here, to tell you the truth. Yeah.
So I won't spend a ton of time on this. The main thing is the resources at the end of the presentation, because I think all of us have pretty much stated some of the things that are in the presentation, but to put it together. So the 168 hours of wellness. So I started this program, the 168 hours, some years ago, because many times women were coming into my office and they were saying that they didn't have time. They didn't have time to eat. They didn't have time for this. They didn't have time for that. And I would tell them, you have 168 hours in a week. And when you do the math, let's say maybe you work 40 to 60 hours, you know, a week. I'm just asking for maybe 5 hours of, you know, eating right or meal prep, or 5 hours of, you know, hitting the gym or meditation or yoga. It's not that much time in the grand scheme of things, but when you look at the 168 hours, it's so much more than physical activity and mental activity. And so menopause really has a lot to do with your wellness, because as we stated before, it affects every single thing. Estrogen receptors are in pretty much every organ system in your body, right? And so it's important that you understand the totality of it all. And so that's why I put this presentation together. Okay. So menopause isn't the problem, your system is. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So the real problem is your system is failing. Most people will have brain fog. Can you scroll down just a little bit?
Yep.
Oh, okay, there we go.
What? Wait, go back.
It is tricky, I see.
Yeah, there it is.
So sleep disruption is an issue, right? Many times people will say, I have fragmented sleep. Weight resistance, where your body's holding weight quite a bit, and then you have these energy crashes, and it's really unpredictable, which makes planning and performance nearly impossible. And if you have not gone through it, let me tell you, it is something. Keep going. So you really have to shift that identity, right? Your body didn't betray you. It just changed the rules. So what worked before, as Lori was stating, you know, she worked out a certain type of way before, and then, you know, it changed. The diet, the routine, the hustle, none of it produces the same results anymore. So not because you failed. This is not a personal failure. It is a physiological transition that demands just a new approach. So because your physiology changed, the rules of the game shifted, and therefore your strategy must shift too.
See, that's where the doctor would say, it's just age.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. It's a strategy shift.
Yeah, it's truly a strategy shift. And so I wanted to, I think the green pointer actually works. So as you can see, the estrogen levels decline over time, and then your cortisol levels rise with your age. And that's when you get the weight gain and the exhaustion. So when you look at the main two hormones in women, which is estrogen and progesterone, you have your estrogen levels, they go up, and then your productive years after that, they start to decline quite a bit. But when you look at your estrogen levels, they go up, and they start to during reproductive years, it just changes just slightly, especially during pregnancy. But then during perimenopause, this is where women who are in perimenopause, they're like, wait a minute, what's happening? Sometimes I'm having a cycle, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm having hot flashes, sometimes I'm not. And then when you go into menopause, which is 12 years or 12 months no cycle, then this is when your estrogen levels drop dramatically. Next slide. So what is actually happening? Your estrogen levels decline over time. This is where you're having issues with your mood, your cognition, bone density, your metabolic function. Everything is disrupted, and your cortisol levels go up. So you have rising stress hormone, which drives fat storage. So when women are saying, oh, it's going to my midsection, I'm slim everywhere, my diet's great, well, you're fighting really against cortisol. And then inflammation, and that's when also your emotional dysregulation happens. And then sleep. This is one of the top complaints. Insulin resistance as well. Cells become less responsive to insulin and making weight management exponentially harder. This is where we have the GLP-1s that women who are in menopause, they have some benefit to them because it really will help with the weight gain as well. Keep going. So what happens? Poor sleep, poor decisions, broken routines, more fatigue. So this cascade is the hidden engine behind why so many high-achieving women feel like they're falling apart. And it's not a time problem, it's an energy architecture problem. Keep going. So burnout, redefined. So burnout is now a hormone problem, essentially. So as I stated before, you have the chronic stress, which leads to elevated cortisol levels, and then you have no recovery in between. So many times people will talk about what their day is like after, just not having a great night's sleep. And it's just that constant fatigue. Your body you can't focus, you can't function. And so you really don't have the time. Your body's not really resetting itself because you're dealing with night sweats, you're dealing with the cortisol levels. So everything feels harder. So tasks that were once effortless now require enormous energy. And that is just really not weakness. It's really just your biology. So many times, especially high performing women, they feel like they're weak during menopause, and it's not that they're weak, it's just your biology. Keep going. So what is the big mistake? You can't outwork a dysregulated body. I used to train for bodybuilding competitions, and one of my trainers used to say, you cannot outwork a bad diet. And so in this particular case, as it pertains to menopause, you can't outwork a dysregulated body. So you have to look at the totality of everything. So the old belief was that more effort equals better results. You push harder, you do more, sleep less, grind through it all. But the clinical reality of it is that more effort on a dysregulated system leads to more cortisol, more inflammation, more symptoms. Pushing harder actually makes things worse. So more effort does not lead to better results. Pushing harder amplifies your symptoms, and the body requires regulation, not force. So the truth is, you're not lazy, you're not inconsistent, you are just unsupported. And so when we talk about it just being people just prescribing estrogen, no, you have to look at the entire system. And if an OBGYN is the go-to person, you need to ask that OBGYN for a resource to treat your other symptoms. So if you're having issues with your bones, doing a DEXA scan or a bone scan, someone that can help you with your calcium, your vitamin D levels. If they don't feel comfortable, maybe they can treat the hormone side of things, but there are other things that they need to target as well. So if this were a discipline problem, especially in high-performing women, we would have already solved the problem. So that's not the issue. Next slide. So you really have to shift, as I stated before, you have to make sure that your time works best for you. You have to make sure that your energy level, that you attack those things, your hormones. So that's that clinical support, and then recovery, right? And so it's not just about attacking those hormones, it's attacking what is my sleep like? Do I have good sleep patterns and good sleep habits as well? And what am I doing with my time, considering where I am now from a physiological standpoint? Next slide. So when I talk about the 168-hour program that I developed, it really was a reset system for women. So every person on the earth, as I stated before, has 168 hours per week. But most women are operating reactively. And that's why it's important for people who are not going through menopause currently that you're here to be proactive in your approach. And so we happen to be very reactive in our approach. And so now it's time to, as Lori stated, to do that deep dig and that deep dive and keep educating and being more proactive in our approach. So you need structure that supports your new biology. Next slide. So 2 things that you can do today if you're dealing with menopause is you have to protect your sleep window. So you want to identify your non-negotiable sleep windows and defend them like it's your clinical appointment, because truly sleep is not a luxury in this stage. It is medicine, because it's going to affect those cortisol levels. It's going to affect how you function. If you're unable to function how you were previously, then that's going to affect your mind state. 100%. I don't care what you do for a living. If you cannot get adequate sleep, it's going to affect how you perform, and therefore it's going to affect your mood and everything else. The next thing that you want to do is you want to control your first hour window, period. The first 60 minutes of your day sets your cortisol rhythm for the next 24 hours. So what you do first matters more than anything else. So if you did nothing but these 2 things right away, it's definitely going to help.
So you're saying you shouldn't start out with a huge cup of coffee?
Caffeine is going to worsen your symptoms, especially excessive amounts. 1 cup, 2 cups, that's okay, but excessive amounts of caffeine is definitely going to worsen your symptoms. Next slide. So
get some protein in there first.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about that.
Like, how do
Well,
you suggest controlling our first hour?
So one of the things that you can do is don't pick up your phone right away. The one thing I will do with regards to my phone is I will say, hey, Siri, play relaxation music. That is the first thing that I do when I wake up. And then I have a nice.
Your Siri hears you, Obi.
See what I'm saying? She knows. I have her trained. She knows. She's trained. And then I have a big pillow that I put at the edge of my bed, and I sit down and I meditate. That is the first thing that I do. Is that I have Siri play meditation music. Is it playing it? Thank you.
It was talking. Yeah.
Oh, do you guys hear it? Yeah, this is my meditation music. I'm telling you, I got it down. So I meditate. That's the first thing that I do. Positive affirmations. I'm huge on positive affirmations. I'm also big on journaling. It's really helped me with the grief with the loss of my mother. But journaling, thank you. Journaling is fantastic. And meditation is what I do with my first hour. But you know what? Do what works for you. But I would recommend just making sure that you integrate that into your reset that first hour. Don't pick up the phone to look at text messages, social media. I make it a point not to do that. And I think that will benefit most people, honestly. Not the news. Oh my God. Definitely not the news. Not what's going on in this country.
Yeah, unless later in the day you tune in to KNPR.
There you go. I love that plug.
I have a little app for that.
That's right, so do I.
Like, if you get up and some people, the first thing you do is exercise, is that okay with the cortisol levels and everything?
I am a huge proponent of working out in the morning, but I get in the sauna first. But remember, I still do this routine. I still meditate. I still do, my positive affirmations, and then I'll turn the sauna on. It takes a little bit of time to heat. I may go change Dad or feed him if he's hungry. And then I do the sauna, and then I work out.
And I think the why behind it is because when you wake up, you want your cortisol levels to rise naturally. Mm-hmm. And so being stimulated is you're producing the cortisol level to spike unnaturally. Mm-hmm. And what we want is to have that cortisol level rise and fall in a natural pace, right? So what the doctor's saying is don't start out your day stimulated. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you can delay your coffee for an hour, that would be best. Let your body have its natural cortisol rise, and then get into your things, which all the tips and tactics you gave are awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
what about eating habits the night before? I have noticed since I started, I mean, I'm 52 now, my period started acting wonky at 50, so it's been 2 years when I believe is menopause or perimenopause or whatever might be going on. Anyway, I have now insatiable hunger
Mhm.
late at night, before almost to the point I can't sleep
Yeah.
unless I get out and eat something. It's
Yeah.
thrown everything off, it's thrown my bathroom patterns off, all of it, because now I'm eating like tons of popcorn at night.
You need more protein.
Protein, yeah.
Yeah, you need more protein.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, does that go away just because of will I get back to a regular eating?
Absolutely. If you try more protein in your diet, and as I stated before, try the Mediterranean diet, but protein will really help. Would you agree?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So the recommendation, a general recommendation is to eat your ideal body weight in grams of protein. So like if your ideal body weight is 150 pounds, then you want to get that 150 grams of protein a day. It's going to be incredible change for you as for that hunger. If you start prioritizing your protein at every meal, you're going to feel way more satisfied and it's going to be way more filling.
Yeah. So when you look at, I used to draw this circle on a piece of paper for patients, and it would be my idea of a plate. And I would draw a line down the middle to split it in half, and I would say, okay, this needs to be green veggies, and then more than, I would say, the other half, I would say a fourth would be like a carbohydrates, and the rest would be protein.
And Rose has a great, she has a hand.
The hand portion method
Yes.
is very similar.
very similar.
So if you can
But it's
at
a
least get
visual.
a palm of protein at every meal, you would be set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, a palm is usually about 6 ounces. Or six,
Yeah, 4 to
yeah,
6.
4 to
Yeah.
6.
Mhm.
Yeah, depending on how big your hands are.
But that's why it's
yeah.
amazing, because if you're a bigger person, you're gonna have a bigger hand.
Yeah.
You're gonna require more protein. If you're a smaller person, you're gonna require a little less protein than maybe someone that lives with you. So that's why it's a handy tool
Yeah.
to do it that way.
And I will tell you that personally, I doubled the amount of protein that I was taking just 6 months ago. And I do it by poaching chicken breast and keeping that, because for me, it's important not to eat processed foods in general. So when I get hungry, the first thing I do is eat a piece of chicken with some avocado on it, just something, and then I see what else is going on. But
I usually-
did up.
What I do is I'll go to the grocery store and get fresh sliced chicken or fresh sliced turkey, because I don't like the big pieces of of chicken at night. But those slices, I just fill up on those slices before bed. Yeah, maybe a little popcorn.
Yeah, I would. I have started to eat protein like in the morning, as Diane was saying. I never ate in the morning before I exercise, but now I make sure I get 10 to 20 grams of protein before I do anything else.
I know we talked about not saying for someone your age. However, one thing that I have read is that as humans, as we age, sometimes our bodies do not process protein the same way as effectively. So even when I'm measuring it in a certain way for my body weight, I still may need more because my body isn't always using it as efficiently, for example.
You're absolutely right. The older we get, you actually need more protein. So for that exact reason, is that your body's actually not assimilating the protein as well as when you were younger. So older people, sometimes they feel like they're losing their appetite. They don't want to eat as much,
Right.
but it's even more important for them to get even like way more protein than they think they need.
Yeah, and I saw that with my mother. She didn't want to eat as much. She would forget to eat, and it's so critical. And I believe me, we put sauce on everything. We had gravy, we had sweet and everything, right? I gained so much weight modeling for her, like, this is so good. But sometimes even when I'm not hungry, I have a protein shake or something to keep that going throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to the next one after that. So this is a master class I'm hosting.
That is one beautiful woman.
You like that? So
Hello.
thank you. So let me tell you, that is my mom's dress. So when she passed away, and I always loved my mom in this dress. And my mom was like 5 foot even. She's a little petite thing, and I'm 5'9". And I always loved her in this dress. And so when I cleaned out her place, I found this dress, and I did a photo shoot in it. And so I was lucky it was the dress, not pants, because they would have been way too short. But yeah, so that's her dress, and I'm doing a master class where I'm going to be talking about fertility and navigating fibroids, perimenopause, and menopause. And so I'll be able to answer a little bit more questions and break this down a little bit further. So please scan that, share it. And I'm going to really also be giving you tips and tools, a deeper dive and tips and tools and how to navigate this critical time, and also showing the interconnectedness of how, it also increases cardiovascular issues as well, your hormones. And so I'll give you a framework on how to build things out. And go to the next slide for me.
Is there another slide?
Yeah, there's another slide. There's 2 more. So this is an Amazon storefront of recommended products that patients, not just myself, but things I've used, but my patients have used as well, that I've compiled a list. And what you'll see is that there are different vitamins and supplements depending on what particular ailment is plaguing you for menopause. So if you're having issues with, like I said before, your bones and joints, there are recommended products that patients and myself have utilized. If you're having issues with mental fog, there are things there for that as well. There are ice packs on there, and also there's some ice packs with my logo. Yeah, they're heat and ice.
I reckon those from working in elementary school, they're going to keep those in the freezer in the health room.
Yeah.
So you got a little boo-boo, you come back with thing.
I noticed it from getting Botox and not getting boobs.
So that's the storefront. And if you don't scan it, it's just Dr. EJ's. Just go to Amazon. And if you go to the next slide, please scan this. So what I do is I break down vitamins in this particular guide and supplements, which vitamins and to find on Amazon, the good vitamins, the ones that are not so great, what to not waste your money on. And so it breaks down the various supplements for your, as I stated before, for whatever particular ailment you're facing.
Great. That's awesome. Rose, before we conclude, I'd love to go back and tell me from your way of thinking, 30, 40, 50, 60, what does weight training, what's the regime?
Yeah, so it was mentioned on here a few times about, getting away from cardio and prioritizing strength training. So cardio, to me, it's actually still could be a very healthy part of your routine, but if you're a time-pressed woman, you should be prioritizing strength training. So if you only have 2 hours a week, twice a day, that time should be dedicated to lifting weights. And some people get really intimidated by lifting weights, but I like to remind you that you are lifting weights every day of your life, like picking up a gallon of milk or cat litter or dog food. And what we're doing is being intentional in the gym by challenging your muscles by lifting a little bit heavier. And you're not going to pick up a 100-pound dumbbell on your first day. You're going to challenge the strength that you have the day that you walk in. So maybe on day 1, you are using 5-pound dumbbells or you're doing your body weight. But 3 months from now, if you continue and stay consistent, that's when you're going to see that you'll be able to lift more. And when you want to get out of your workout is one mistake I see people do is they just kind of go through the motions. Like they'll get a YouTube video, they'll follow along. But the thing is, if you finish those last 2 reps of a set and now you feel like you could go do something else, then that was probably not a challenging enough weight. Like it should feel like supreme effort to get those last 2 reps, obviously without huge form breakdown where you're going to hurt yourself, but it should not be super easy. So anyway, 2 to 3 times a week, prioritizing strength training. Back when, like Lori was mentioning, it used to be like cardio all the time. In this phase of life, you are going through a lot of stress, right? We're not sleeping, your cortisol is high, we have inflammation, and so excess cardio is only going to aggravate your cortisol levels. It's going to keep inflammation high. So when people ask me what are my cardio recommendations, first let's master the strength training, and then if you want to add in some hip-based cardio, I like 20 to 30 minutes of doing interval training. So do something with a high effort for 10 to 20 seconds and then recover for the rest of the minute and do that 20 times. It could be running, rowing, kettlebell swings. You could join your friends. There's all these express boot camp places around town. They're like 20 or 30 minutes. I don't like ones that are like an hour long though. I think that can be a little bit excessive for some people. So yeah, those are my recommendations is 2 to 3 times a week strength training. And if you want to add in cardio for heart health, do interval training, 20 minutes is great.
Yeah, for me, walking is my Prozac. You really don't want to be around me if I haven't walked some. I just understand I don't have to walk the way I take on the rest of life necessarily.
Well, Andrea, share what's been your experience since you've been training with me? Because like you've shifted your workouts.
The biggest thing about working out with Rose is that I had a drive, and I have for 30 years had a rule. If you're outside my bubble, I don't do it. And my bubble was because I counted the minutes that it takes me to get somewhere. That's the way I am. What I have found is that I'm happier when I leave after doing that workout than I almost more than when I walk. But I know walking does a very different thing for me. But I have been noticing this, and one of the most fun things for me is the inspiration of the other people. There is one person who is Sarah. She's like 95 pounds.
Oh yeah, she is she's tiny
And
she's
she deadlifts
a DJ
120
performer.
pounds.
Oh.
And, for me to get to work out with her, it's like, this is interesting. But it is so inspiring to watch all the different ways so for me, I have been noticing that I actually feel better when I leave a weight training than I have doing other things and that. But and I know that I have Lord knows I'm a little excessive. I have a scale that measures my bone structure. What I care about is my bone structure. So I have a scale that measures everything from water to bone structure to muscle and fat and all of those things. And it has definitely been improving with each month. And the structure of my frame is what I'm the most concerned about at this point in life. I'm not, I walked a marathon and I love to do stuff like that, but I couldn't care less about doing it now. What I care about, you show me the numbers on how my bones are, and we're going to have a conversation.
Well, that's
That I care
another
about.
hidden symptom of menopause that people don't realize until they have a break is the loss of muscle and the loss of bone. And 50% of women are going to have a break in their lifetime. And of those women, if that's a hip fracture, in the first year, 75% of them are going to lose their independence. So it's really, really important that all women should be strength training. I used to try to be very non-offensive about this when I was first starting as a trainer. I'd be like, well, you do workouts that you love. You should do things that you enjoy. If you enjoy that, you should do it. But now it's vital to your life to be able to strength train.
And the stuff that I've seen is that whether you're 70, 80, 90, you can increase your muscle by doing the right form of resistance training.
I mean, my oldest client, I've trained 90-year-olds.
Mhm.
You know, currently my oldest client is 76.
Better not be
I
me.
think. It's not, but it's incredible training older people to see like how much strength that they gain in a short amount of time.
Yep.
Like they think it might take them a long time, but all they have to do is be consistent. Just show up twice a week and we do the work, and it's incredible how life-changing it is for someone who is sedentary, and then someone who, you know, even with aches and pains, even with old breaks, even with a bad back, a bad shoulder, a bad knee, being able to see their transformation on let's work where you're at and build your body where you're at. It's just incredible. So it's not too late to start strength training if you haven't yet. You can really change your life by strength training.
Thank you.
I think our lives have changed a lot in terms of physical activity. When a friend of mine, her mother was in her 90s, she was still going upstairs to go to bed, down to the basement to do the laundry. And we don't have those things built in. We're not churning the butter or whatever, you know, those activities that used to be built in. And then we had this idea of, well, this is a blue collar job and this is a white collar job. And, you know, here's a job where you get paid more and you sit on your ass. And then here's a job where you're really active, but we somehow don't value that as much. And I had times in between this job or that job where I was more active and I felt better, or we worked to move out of a house and we're lifting heavy things. And I just thought, well, it's family, kind of collegiality. I didn't really get it. A couple different times I can pinpoint, I'm feeling better. And it was because I was tending that lifting.
Yeah.
And there is something really, really basic about it that I think we need.
Yeah,
And,
just to move.
and we have gotten kind of out of the habit of doing that. I wrestle with a giant tub of liquid laundry detergent today, because you get that big one with the spout and it's awkward and you gotta lift it up. And I was really happy because I was able to do it, and it was because of the class. I was able to hold that there.
I love that.
But it's life, we want to participate more.
Yeah,
and we need to-
and therein lies.
I just wanted to say, I don't have a fancy scale like you do, but I wanted to know all of those numbers. So this week, I went to UNLV at their wellness center. If you pay $5, they'll do the scan.
Oh,
and
wow.
they'll tell you all of the. What do you mean by that?
It's called InBody, the INBODY, the
Or
brand.
You know what?
DEXA.
I have the paper in the car. I don't know the name of it,
Okay.
but it told me how much different types of water was
Yep.
in my body, and
Huh.
it told me the fat, and it told me the muscle, and it told me it was very. I couldn't even read it all.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of information, because I just wanted to start working out, and I wanted
That's
to
great.
know where I was.
Yeah.
And then in a month or two, I figured I could go back and see where I am.
Super.
Sure.
And
That's
they do that
awesome,
for
yeah.
$5.
$5. I
I
did
love
have to
that.
pay $15 for a day pass
Mhm.
to get in, and then it's
Sorry.
$5. So it was $20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still.
Well,
Wait,
if you're
great,
on my
thank
side
you
of
for that.
town, you can come see me and I'll give you one for free because I have an InBody.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
so you don't have to go all the way to UNLV, but I'll give you my info.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
she had a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just, like you were saying, resources. So I have been to so many doctors. I have books. I am here. I've listened to podcasts. The reason why I asked if it was too late, because I can't get any answers. I just keep getting blown up. I've had the patch, it didn't work. I just can't, I had a personal trainer for a solid year. Didn't lose a pound. I eat tremendously well. All I eat is salmon and spinach, right? I have tried everything in the world. And I'm still here with
You should see Dr. Lightning.
Here in Vegas. Because I just feel like I've been doing the work.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been
yeah.
going on for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And I still.
Yeah, so you may need lab testing, gut health, all of that.
Lots of labs done, right?
I've had so many
Yeah.
labs done.
I'll be happy to look at them complimentary for you.
Yes, because I'm going out of my mind.
No,
And I
that stops now. You've come to the right place.
I will tell you, though, that I think that it is a journey. And it's like, I never for me personally, thought that it would be the length that it is, but now that I'm in it, I recognize that I have to be willing to be open to shifting at every stage in the journey. The journey starts really from perimenopause and through that whole process. I mean, I had endometrial cancer, and even my oncologist said, you should go back on hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, so I just think everything is just a journey. And I can tell you, for me personally, I would rather live a shorter life and a happier life than live a longer life and be just completely miserable. And I relate. I totally relate to what you're feeling. And I think it's good that you keep reaching and you keep talking and you not be afraid to say, here's what I'm feeling. Because I think women, I'm just telling you from my own perspective, I see women suffering in silence because they're too afraid, because it's a personal conversation, they don't know how to have it, and they're suffering. And I'm saying, why suffer? Because there are a lot of people around you that can help you and give you, you know, here's what I tried, and this might work or that might not work.
Yeah.
Finding great resources who have done the homework.
And you know what, I just want to say really quickly, I would love to get back into strength training. The trainer I had was too young. It was a young man, and he didn't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And
I was like, why are
I
you talking to me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went in and I was like, listen, I'm menopausal, and he was like, la 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 la.
Don't say that word.
I just wanted to say, like, I didn't want it to come across like, oh no, don't weight train.
Yeah.
It was great. It actually made me happier and I had more energy. It's just physically I was still a blob, right? I'm like, how is this not working? So anyway,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Keep reaching.
Are we good, ladies and gentlemen?
Questions?
I want to know
What are your
brought
thoughts?
you tonight.
What are my thoughts?
We kept locking
What are
eyes.
your
Well,
thoughts?
You know, it seems like we're all self-evaluating. I'm trying to think of what's wrong with me.
So men go through andropause, women go through menopause.
Yeah, it was a few years
Yep.
ago, so I've forgotten all about it.
You had a question?
Oh, I was just going to add one comment. I really appreciate the conversation. You know, I think there's so much awareness around like breast cancer,
Yes.
but this topic, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of just, you know, messaging around it or communication or
Right.
just like, where do you go or how do you start your journey? So I really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that's why it was important for me to make sure people know this is a conversation that you start in your 30s. Because I think what you do in your 30s starts impacting everything. And that to me was one of the most important pieces of everything that I've been researching, is that these changes, and I think one of the charts that you had, that it's really each stage you have to change. And we consume information, something fits in our schedule, that's what we do. And we rarely ask, is that what I'm supposed to be doing and what is the goal? Like my goal about my bones is different today. I wouldn't have even known about my bones at 30 years old. Like I wouldn't have cared. So it is but thank you. I appreciate that. All right, go off and conquer.
And
Thank
keep
you so
reaching.
much. And do remember to give money to Nevada Public Radio. That's all.
Hey, thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Dr. January. Thank you, Lori. And thank you, Rose. Thank you so much for what has been an extremely illuminating, very, very, very important conversation. It is very true that there's not enough talk about this. There's not enough openness about this. Thank you for coming to have some understanding. David, did you have a question earlier? I could have sworn I saw you with your hand.
I was
Oh, I'm
wondering
sorry.
if there's value in, we all know protein is good, but I've been reading recently, and this is for all genders, that there's a value to the order that you're consuming your meals as far as how your body is going to process it and what insulin responses you're going to have. So do you recommend starting with the protein before getting into your starches and carbs?
I mean, you don't have to, but if you are worried about insulin resistance, if you put the protein first, it will slow down that blood sugar spike. So don't start with carbohydrates if you don't want to have that big spike. But I think if you eat everything at the same time, you're going to be fine. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
As long as you have protein on that plate, I think it's really important. But you don't have to go through a sad dinner, be like, let me eat all the chicken before I can have a bite of my potatoes or whatever. As long as you prioritize the protein, you have a big piece of it in your meal, you're going to be fine.
And I would also volunteer that a very solid late night snack, if you want to be protein forward, without any of the bad stuff, is cottage cheese. If you like cottage cheese, if you can stand cottage cheese, it's fantastic. If you can't, Greek yogurt would be a good substitute.
Okay, I'm like, you can see my face.
I am not a
And
cottage
so
cheese
now,
fan.
I'm very data oriented. I take more tests.
Yeah, we get that.
Yeah. So, cottage cheese and Greek yogurt are two of my most favorite foods in the world. And they are not the right food for me to eat for inflammation. Makes me so sad.
Because of,
So sad. Right. Whey, I
Yeah.
don't do beef.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to do beef, but it is an inflammatory
are you
for
talking
my
about because of
system.
the sugar in the dairy?
All I know is I do various blood work and DNA testing
Right.
on what inflames my body.
Right.
And I have no inflammation in my body,
So,
and that's where I
Dairy
want to
is
keep it.
so then you
inflammatory.
just listen to yourself
Yep.
and then see how you feel after.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yep.
I eat lots of it though.
I know.
I
I'm telling
mean, it's
you.
one of my main ways I get protein in, and I'm a big fan of protein ice cream. But if I had someone who was concerned with lowering their inflammation, that's one of the things. Dairy and wheat.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to eat a lot of bowls of cereal. I was kind of cereal obsessive, so, my blood sugar went way up.
Yeah.
So I kind of kicked myself into that, high speed. Because, fruit's really good on cereal. And you can eat a lot of bowls of cereal, and sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and you want a snack, and there's a bowl of cereal. So, yeah. I just
is
used
funny.
up my quota.
Well, again, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Susan, for hosting
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
accommodating
We
this.
are looking forward to the
Yep.
next one.
Yep.
And thank you all.
Please take a ice heat pack,
Yep.
please.
And
The Dr. EJ.
Rose, do you have your information? Because
Yeah, so
I
I was
actually
gonna say,
I have your folder from the.
Yeah, if you go to my website, coachrosepeterson.com, at the bottom of it, I do have a free download if you want to get started with strength training. There's a free workout in there. There's also nutrition resources for free on there too.
CoachRosePeterson.com.
Yep, Coach Rose Peterson.